fancy intro music. Yeah! Woo!
Welcome back, Star Trek Fleet Command. Today, you and I are going to go on another journey previewing content coming up here this month. I am going to go ahead and let you know that I am both happy and unhappy with this change that we're going to talk about today. I do think it is an example of more power creep in the game, but I still at the same time think that there are ways that's going to benefit you as the average player. It really depends on what type of player you are and who you are. Lots of things coming this upcoming month, including little thing here. I can show this part because they put it in their own video, so I decided to remake my video and add it in. New research tree coming. We'll talk about that in a little bit more depth in a few seconds, but before we jump into that, we have to do a brief recap on how battle logs work because a change is coming to those for all players. So as you see it now, right here, you have 4 layers to your battle log, right? So a damaging shot comes in and 4 things happen. Number 1, you mitigate it. Number 2, your isolytic defense kicks in if applicable, which is essentially mitigation for isolytic, shields, and then finally the 4th one, the most important one, is how much damage you take to your hull. That is now being augmented with a new stat coming out called the Apex Barrier. So the Apex Barrier stat is brand new, stinking new, and I appreciate them making a graphic because there are 2 types of players in the game. Number 1, the casual who simply wants to know how something works, and 2, those who want the deeper math. Thankfully for both of you, we've gotten them to provide a graphic. For the first set of players, if you're a casual out there and you simply want to know how this works, which is understandable. Shout out to all the casuals in the comments down below. I had to make this graphic. I reminded them we really needed a graphic to break down the basics. So standard damage comes in and we see the different layers. So isolytic defense is for stopping isolytic damage. You've got standard damage, which is then stopped by mitigation, and shields and Apex Barrier is now another layer that stops damage, but it works after isolytic, so it's stopping all effective damage coming to your ship. Now, right below, here's a little math formula for those who want to go deeper into the dive, but the essentials of how this works are pretty basic, I would think, at least for now. And I do want to highlight for now. I hate to be a negative Nancy, but if you remember when isolytic actually came out by itself, it was pretty basic, right? There was nothing there until more and more has started to pile on. We talked about isolytic in the very beginning. If it was, 1, 2, 3% would have been fine, but we've seen those numbers balloon and things augment. But as it sits today with this launching, how it will work with the Apex Barrier, this new deflector, if you will essentially be able to stop all damage, effectively making you stronger as you get more of it. So if you got, by the example up there, 10,000 of this new stat, you would essentially double the amount of whole health damage you can take, thus meaning that you can fight twice as many hostiles. Now keep in mind that that ratio is not identical for PvP because there's so many other variables in PvP. So trying to make that would be a false equivalency, but this is something that you will have access to start working on and earning at the start of this month as a free-to-play player. But at the same time, yep, you guessed it, that means there's a loop coming for you. So yeah, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just here to tell you what's coming and previewing it. I do think that for the players out there that are mostly free-to-play, PvE, light spenders, even PvP players, doing the most of what you need to do in the game, mission hostiles, queue trial hostiles, punching up on freebooters and armada, stuff like that, this is going to help. It's going to make those tasks easier, allowing you to do more at your level. But at the same time, this is also going to be something that's going to widen the gap that already exists between the high-end PvPers and the low end. That's the nice way of saying people who spend a lot of money. And that's not shaming, by the way. Spend your money however you want to. It's not my money. As long as you're not spending what I would spend or spending my money, I really don't care. But it will greatly increase the gap even more because, as you can imagine, getting this is going to be difficult. Just like the artifact drip started off very slow. The forbidden technology drip, very slow. All of this is going to be something that players have to work into. But thanks to this right here, we do know that there is a new research tree coming, and we do know that there is more coming that we can have access to. So what is that going to look like? Which I think is a fantastic question, and one that I'm more than happy to provide some answer to. Again, we'll have more previews in tomorrow's video. But tomorrow, you will see this mirror universe, right? New research tree. It's actually animated, which is not on my screen, but it's actually animated, which is really neat. But what this is essentially going to do is, as we, were to proverbially, click on it and we were to, you know, rotate. So I'm not going to open up anything because there's nothing to open up. Clearly, this is just, you know, the power of editing. But here's some examples of some of the things that you can get in this research tree, and it will make your gameplay better in some ways. Again, this is, in a lot of ways, it reminds me of when they did the combat and the galaxy tree and the station tree extensions. Now, I also want to add, this is all 40+ content. So if you are below that level, then don't worry about any of this stuff. Don't worry about the mirror universe or what could be coming. We'll talk about more of that in the patch notes. But as far as what is coming, it is a way to increase the survivability for all players. And again, just like we have artifacts that do the same thing, which I personally love the artifacts, mostly for collection purposes, there is definitely some really good effect in here. As you can see, some of these isolytic numbers get really, really big as we get more and more. Like, look, isolytic defense for interceptors with that. Here's our damage with morale. So you can tell like some of the newer ones versus some of the older ones, like that 3% from the Riker's trombone. Go back to even some of the ones that I haven't unlocked, you know, 1% isolytic damage for all ships. Yet we have got specific boosters like in newer research trees that are like 15%. So anyway, changes that always tend to happen in these type of games is we see more and more getting added. And that honestly is the case this month as well. And I'm only sharing things again that they have shared themselves. So kind of like multiple leaks in one. I guess they showed this in their video, which includes 2 officers that aren't in the game. So go ahead and do the math if you think they're going to appear. But you've got a mirror universe, we assume, Picard, and a mirror universe, we assume, Data, right there. So lots of things coming. And I know a lot of people have asked for mirror universe, myself included. So I don't think that the Apex barrier modifier is a bad thing. I do think providing players a way to increase their survivability is good. But at the same time, I do have concerns, which I have voiced here in this video. The idea of having something that is going to increase your ability to do what you have to do in the game, and I think more importantly, punch up, because I am a big fan of hitting bigger hostiles for more loot so that I can do less. Example, Zindi, Silence, etc. Well, that's really nice for that. And then obviously with the mirror universe coming, there's gonna be something that we're gonna have to deal with the mirror universe. Clearly, it's simply logical. We know how this game operates. So I do like the idea of the Apex barrier. It's simply going to come down to how your experience will be on your individual server. And I think that if you are on a server that works really well together and isn't in constant conflict of, say, maybe you're in the rank 7 alliance going against the rank 1 and you're constantly having those high levels hit you, your viewpoint's gonna be very different than the person in a very peaceful, rank 2 alliance who is just out there trying to get better and enjoy the world of Star Trek. And more I'm reminded of how different our player base is server to server. But anyway, let me know what you think about the early Apex barrier thoughts down below. Again, just another tool that you can use to help you survive and mess up things like Spock's Club, who are going to have to redo everything when it comes to battle logs. But shout out to Glare and June Bree. Good luck, my friends. If y'all have any questions, feel free as always to reach out to me, and we'll talk more about Apex barrier and such tomorrow. And don't forget, we are giving away 10 battle passes this week, which will be really exciting for all of you who get free battle passes. I like free. I do. It's nice. All right. See you then.
An even better outro than the intro. For the Empire and glory to your house.